you don't realize until you start actually building your site how much money actually goes into not just building the site, the design, the hosting. I've had a whole website be attacked and had to spend hundreds of dollars. How did you guys really maintain like what was in your budget, things that you could leave out? What did that look like? And Lee, we can start with you.
I mean, first of all, I love that you're having this conversation. I'm huge on transparency about how people get paid and how much things cost. So thanks for elevating the conversation. Just for starters, since I use Squarespace, that costs me about $400 a year. And the way I've done this, and that I've seen a lot of freelancers do this, is you kind of have to have a day job, depending on who you are. I mean, maybe if I was, someone's sugar baby, then I wouldn't need a day job, but I am not one. But so I have my day job, I have a full-time job. And then, of course, the exercise comes in about how do you actually take the time out to also do this website. But yeah, so I would say that's kind of just where I fund this project. And something that was important to me from the beginning was paying writers. Definitely not as much as I would like to pay them, but almost more of from a like ethical philosophy standpoint. I just wanted to make sure that was something I could do. And it's always been funded by my full-time job. So thank you to you guys.
No, thank you for bringing up that you have a full-time job, because I think a lot of people on social think we just talk about movies and somehow our bills get paid. I just want to kick a question to all of the panelists. Can you just raise your hand if at the time that you started your site, if you had another job to help pay bills? I know that touched someone, because I know a lot of people think that we don't work. We definitely have more jobs than just what we do, because bills still have to get paid somehow.
I can say that my site was always a hobby. I knew that it would never be something that would sustain me. It was always something where I said, oh, if I can make, a couple $100, like that's fine. And that's about on par with what I was making. And it was all Google ad revenue. WordPress has their own little ad generator. So, the site was making money, but it was never going to be enough that fed me. And so really in my case, I was a full-time freelancer who was making more money off of doing assignments and stuff. And so this was always kind of something where I was like, if I'm going to take my hard-earned money and put it into paying for this domain and this URL and the WordPress, proper, it has to be something that I want to do for fun, because it's never going to pay for itself. So that's always how I saw it was, it was great to be able to write something that was fun and was not what I was writing full time to make money. So, sometimes depending on what you are writing, if you are a full-time freelancer, if you want to do your own site, oftentimes it has to be something that you're like, I know that this is probably never going to pay for itself. That's not to say that it won't, which is great. It's what we all want. But it's got to be one of those where you're like, can you stand to pay, $150 a year or $200 a year to pay for something that you're probably never going to see that money back?
Eric, I want to kick the next one off to you. I want to talk about actually having advertisers, because when I started, I didn't know that this is something you can do where people would actually pay to have advertisements on the site. So can you shed a little bit more light on that?
Yeah, because that's a part of my journey with the whole thing. I started in 2013, and while I wasn't a sugar baby, there was a little bit of that. I have a very supportive relationship. So we just kind of, when one is doing okay, we just balance it out. But the intention was to hopefully make it a revenue generating site, but it took a really, really long time for that to happen. And the beginning costs were reasonable, but as you get bigger and you have more images and just more storage and more content, the server and host costs get bigger and bigger each year. So I think now it's quite a few $1,000s now a year, quite a few $1,000s. But getting up to that point was a bit of a slow curve. And it really took it took studios noticing me before I was able to get that revenue. But I did absolutely everything grassroots myself. I messaged every rep that I could to get me to their digital marketing team so that I could create those relationships. I do all the sales. I do everything. And I did not start generating that type of ad revenue until 2017. So it was 4 years into Awards Watch before that happened. And it was really small at first. And thank you, Focus Features, for being the first studio to do that for me. But it was sort of like you have to have a job to get a job, you know? Nobody wants to give you, nobody wants to be first, nobody wants to do that. But once somebody kind of jumps in, then other studios are like, oh, okay. And then I also had something to offer. I had numbers, I had impressions, I had something that I could do for my pitch deck, so that I could send that out to a studio and be like, here's what I can offer you.